Calling to order Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, City of Lawrence Redevelopment Commission. And we do have a quorum. And Joe, will you please read our statement for our online participants and users?
Yes. The public is invited to attend the Lawrence Redevelopment Commission. The RDC may impose reasonable restrictions on the number of attendees to control audience density in consideration of the existing COVID-19 national emergency. The public may participate remotely by dialing 463-777-8704 and entering participation code 654225. In addition, if you would like to provide comments remotely, please email them to jmurphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y, @cityoflawrence.org. Now we're going to take roll call. Commissioners are to respond to roll call with the response here when you hear your name. David Blunt.
Here.
Jerry Clifford.
Here.
Dick Freege.
Here.
Melissa Swindell. Ray Rohana.
Here.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Here.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe. I am assuming everyone has had a chance to review the minutes, read through them. We've had them for a few days. Is there any changes, questions, comments to the minutes from our July 31st meeting, and also for our August 18th executive session? Does anyone have any comments, changes, or questions on those minutes?
No.
If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the July Redevelopment Commission meeting?
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
We'll take a motion from Ray.
Motion from Ray
Second.
and a second from Jerry.
We'll do a roll call vote. This is for the regular minutes of the July RDC meeting. David Blunt,
Yes.
Jerry Clifford,
Yes.
Melissa Swindell, who has, I believe, joined us. Yeah. Melissa, can you hear us?
No.
I can't hear. Hold on.
Okay. We'll move to Ray Rohana
Yes.
and Cheryl Sullivan. Melissa, can you hear us now?
Speaker.
I can hear her.
Didn't have auto.
Stand by one.
Hi, can you hear me? It's Melissa. Sorry, I'm having sound difficulty.
Yes, we can hear you, Melissa. Can you hear us?
I can now, yes, thank you. Sorry about that.
You're okay. We're doing a roll call vote for the approval of the regular minutes of the July meeting. How do you vote? Melissa, can you hear us?
No.
Does not appear so.
Hey, Joe, do you have you don't have you don't have access to chat. Never mind.
I don't. I'd have to get up there.
If we have
How would we proceed?
quorum, I think we can still move on.
Ashley, may we proceed?
Maybe it's us.
Maybe nobody can hear us. Ashley, are we allowed to proceed with Melissa abstaining?
Stating, I did see her and now I can't see her. Is she still on?
No, she's gone now.
Can she call in through conference call? I don't know that she ever officially voted. So you may just want to show her as not able to vote at this time.
Okay.
I could see her, but I couldn't hear her except for when you could hear her as well.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on to the executive session minutes, and if she gets back, we can double back and get that vote.
Do I have any questions, comments, or concerns for the executive meeting on August 18th?
None here.
Not here.
May I have a motion to approve? Thank you, Cheryl.
Second.
Jerry, second.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. David Blunt,
Approve.
Jerry Clifford,
Yes.
Ray Rohana,
Yes, sir.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Yes.
It appears Melissa Swindell is still unable to vote, so we will not include her in this. All right, both approved.
Thank you. Mr. Frenwick, would you please give us a breakdown of our purchase orders and approval of claims?
Sure. So on the claims list for August, a couple of things. We do have the principal and interest payments on the debt service for the loan RDC bond issuance. We also have, I'll point out, the catch-up, I'll call it invoices for the previous director. So those should probably be, I think, the last payments for the previous director on the claims list. And then the last thing I would point out is there is a payment to USI for $1,110 that came to us about, a couple of weeks ago. It was for the work done on the Freegee project, but none of the current staff was aware of that invoice needing to be paid. So it's now on the list to be paid. The work was done, so it needs to be paid. Other than that, I don't have any other comments.
Any questions for Mr. Frenwick?
Not at this time.
None.
You said none.
Oh, okay. May I have a motion to approve claims and purchase orders?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call vote to approve claims and purchase orders. Mr. David Blunt,
Approve.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Ray Rohana,
Yes, sir.
Cheryl Sullivan,
Yes.
and Melissa, I see you've joined us again. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. We are on
Yes,
approval of
ma'am.
claims and purchase orders. We're taking a roll call vote to approve those. How do you vote?
Approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Fenwick, do you have a RDC financial position report for me?
Yes. Okay. The pro forma cash flows that we've been circulating, we did make one adjustment to that. The very last line under expenses for 2020 was an addition of a miscellaneous item for $50,000. Now, I will point out I have the wrong amount. It's actually $75,000, but it was for a training grant to Williams Comfort that, again, at the time we weren't aware of that being part of the incentive, but it is. So I'll bump that up to $75,000, which is the amount they will be expecting. Other than that, the pro formas, quite frankly, based on all the work that's been done over the last couple of months and some of the anticipated future expenses, I think from a cash perspective, we're definitely within budget, and you'll see over the 4-year period, we still have firepower left if something comes up. So that would be my financial report.
Thank you, Jason. Does anyone have any questions for Jason on the financial position
None.
at the moment?
None.
All right. Well, we will move on to the old business. Joe,
Yep.
will you go ahead and cover the old business, the Williams Comfort and Air grant? And if you would, almost for my personal, can you explain the grant and the $75,000 and how all that's going through?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So this is a agreement between the Redevelopment Commission and Employ Indy, who is a third party that is assisting Williams Comfort Air in the administration of this training grant. The grant is for $75,000 to Williams Comfort Air to assist in employee development, workforce development, in line with an initiative that we've been trying to push citywide. And essentially, we're going to provide them $75,000 on a reimbursement basis for fees associated with training. What they've committed to now as 150 new jobs. Again, this is going to be reimbursement for training-related expenses. Up to $65,000 of that grant must be spent on expenses related to training. An additional $10,000 for administrative purposes. Some additional details, 70% of the grant must be spent on Marion County residents, training Marion County residents. And this is a grant that will run through the end of 2024. That's the deadline for the expenditure of all the whole $75,000. So this will be something that we see in our regular claims and purchase orders to approve going forward as we begin to see them spend this money. And just recently, I was reached out to by the head of the administration for Employee Indy to set up in a meeting to discuss how we're going to go about administering the grant. So that's something that we'll continue to report back to you on a regular basis. In the agreement is set out quarterly reports that will be given to this commission on how that grant is being administered and the progress we're making. So that's something you guys can look forward to in the future. Beyond that, I think that this is something that the commission we're excited about. I think it's going to be beneficial, and Williams Comfort Air has been a great partner so far for the city, and so I think it's going to be money well spent.
And Joe, who is responsible for, from the city's standpoint, and keeping track of this grant and the funds, and if the training's happening? Like, I guess who's our liaison from the city?
That'll be primarily my responsibility.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be working directly with the folks at Employee Indy to ensure that the expenses that they're sending us are in fact related to training purposes, and those will, like I said, come before this commission for approval before any of the money is actually sent out to reimburse the funds that have been expended. So
Yeah.
Perfect.
beyond that, I don't have anything else to include. There's a pretty lengthy agreement that we'll be signing if we approve it today, but it's mostly legal jargon and things of that nature. I think that beyond that, I've hit the highlights. So if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer though.
You're going to, Mr. President,
Yeah.
Joe, you're going to administer the grant as far as processing vouchers through Jason when appropriate, right?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. So we need an action on this to approve the actual agreement.
Are there any other questions or comments from any of the other commissioners?
None.
I might just remind the commission that this was a commitment that was made during the negotiation for Williams Comfort Air to locate here made by Cam Starnes that we all became aware of. I have reviewed the agreement that we're asking you to sign. I think Ashley's reviewed it as well. So we just need a motion and put this item to bed.
Jerry, do you have something?
You've already signed it, haven't you? The agreement?
So we passed a ordinance back in 2019. This commission did approving the $75,000 in train. This is the actual agreement now with Employee Indy for the money. So this is just a secondary step to complete that process.
So that 28-page agreement that I thought,
That's what we're going to be voting on and signing today.
okay, well, I mean, I'm fine with it. I thought you already signed it.
It hasn't been signed officially.
Correct. And as Jason mentioned in his financial report, that's something that he's now built into his calculation for the RDC, and it's something that is within our means to be able to pay for.
We're just seeking a motion of the council for David to execute that on your behalf. The commission, I'm sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Do a roll call vote. David Blunt,
Approve.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approve.
Ray Rohana,
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 2, diversity, participation, encouragement.
I'd like to speak to that if I may, Mr. President.
Absolutely.
So Commissioner Sullivan brought up last month meeting that she wanted to be sure that we were considering any opportunities for participation in any future expenses made by the commission, that we did everything we could to maximize opportunities relative to diversity. Jeanette Jackson is here with us today from the city, and congratulations, Jeanette. Recently received an appointment by the mayor to be fully responsible for that section of the city's business. She and Joe have been working together. A copy of the city's ordinance that was a resolution by the council is attached relative to diversity. We've asked Janet to attend, and she and Joe are just going to spend a minute or two telling you what they're doing together to be sure that we start to move that direction to every maximum possibility. So Jeanette, would you like to approach the group, please?
Dan, while Jeanette's coming up, if I could add one thing. The mayor last year signed an executive order that officially established this additional role that Jeanette has now been appointed to. And so this has certainly been not only just for the RDC, but citywide, and an important initiative of the mayor's, both from an employment standpoint and from a contractor/vendor standpoint as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Pretty much what Jason stated, we definitely want to move in a direction in providing opportunity for minorities, women, and veterans when it comes to our contracts. I know Joe and I will continue to work together and going into more details of how we can do that and what our plans would be. We probably will be making some modifications to the application to make sure that that information is listed. So those who are unaware are now given an opportunity to understand that we are wanting them to apply for those positions and bid, I should say, for those positions. Joe and I will talk more in detail, but that's most of the information I'm able to give to you today. Any questions?
Jeanette, you mentioned minority, women, and veteran, and I know at least Marion County has one more, and I think it's disabled.
Yes.
Is that something, is that a part of?
Yes, it can be, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Joe, anything else to contribute?
No, I think Jeanette summed it up well. I think this is something that we're going to together look to add some additional language to any kind of RFPs that we offer in the future, so that it's clearly indicated that the RDC is interested in approaching this from a very inclusive standpoint. So I think that we'll get that done here shortly.
I think one of the questions that will come to this commission relative to this matter is, do we provide any form of incentive, and can we statutorily do that for their participation? In other words, can we incentivize a 10%, or just to pick a number out of the air, or some other consideration that gets applied to their bid compared to the bid of a bigger company that's likely not a minority or some other thing? We may have to research that a little bit with Ashley and see what's available, but my experience in this industry, particularly the construction industry over the last 20 years, it's pretty hard for a small minority company to compete price-wise with a big conglomerate. So if we're really serious about this, we may have to consider what's available to us from a statutory provision and whether or not we want to put a monetary incentive with it as well. My only comments.
Thank you, Dan. And we do understand that not every business will be able to meet the needs of what the city is looking for in those redevelopment concerns. However, if it's something as small as being the person who transports it, being the person who delivers it, being the person who may put the parts together, is something that could be minor, we can take that into consideration.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking this role on.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jeanette.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This is Cheryl. I have a question. In the ordinance, first of all, Joe, thanks for including this. The ordinance indicates that on August 1st of each year, the mayor provides a report to the common council on meeting the guidelines that were stated in the ordinance. Is that, I couldn't find that on the website. Has the mayor received, or has the mayor submitted that to the common council this year or last year? And if so, may we have a copy of that?
It is, Cheryl, it is yet to be submitted. Is that something, I don't know if that's something that, yeah. That's something that we could potentially get to you in the future once we have access to that.
Okay. And then also just noting some of the language in the ordinance too, where it says the city intends to meaningfully increase opportunities for the participation. And I wonder how that participation is advertised. We talked just a little bit about that last month. And I know that the council or the commission has already approved contracts for appraisals and demolition, legal services, and other contracts. How are those RFPs let? In other words, on the city website, I continue to see no bid opportunities as listed as currently available. So is it the intent for the commission to list those opportunities publicly, or how? I'm struggling still a little bit with how the commission can meaningfully increase the opportunities.
I think your question is very fair, Cheryl, and I believe that since you brought this up to our attention last month, we're starting to focus on it, but I don't think we have those answers, and I don't think at the moment we have any more items we're going out to procure, but I do believe we need to place emphasis and figure this out as we move forward in the short term and long term. But I'm not going to make up something for you today that I don't have the answer to. I think we have to figure that out, and that's just where we are.
Okay. And maybe we could start. Perhaps I'd recommend that we start with that report that the mayor's putting together for the council, and just see where we are with the sheer numbers. And then one recommendation I would have is, as future contracts come up before the commission for approval, that it's identified whether it is in fact women-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned, disability-owned
Okay.
entity, just so we are more mindful of our own obligation, of our own responsibility, so that we can hold ourselves accountable to meeting the mayor's, or to meeting what is stated in the ordinance. Since it very clearly says that the city should actively promote the increased utilization. And I would want us to be held accountable for that too.
Fair enough. Well stated.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Good idea, Cheryl. And if you want, I would be happy to sit down with you, Jeanette, Joe, maybe even Ashley, and because I'm not aware of a process that the city has, but I think we can sit down and at least discuss it and see how we can make this happen.
Great, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks.
that, and very much would appreciate being part of that discussion.
Okay. All right. Thank you again, Jeanette. Dan, would you move on and we can discuss 4400 of Franklin Road?
If you'd like, I'll just take the agenda over from here if that's okay.
That is great.
4400 block of Franklin Road parcels maintenance update. And I think all of you are aware of the challenge we had getting that tremendous amount of overgrowth out of the way. We went way too long before assigning anybody to handle that piece of those 3 parcels the RDC owned. As you know and you approved, we hired a person for $300 a month or so ago that absolutely didn't pay attention to the scope. We knew it was too cheap when we hired it, when we accepted it, but we didn't have any other bids either. And in all fairness, he worked out there 3 days and did a lot more than $300 work and didn't even scratch the surface. I want to commend Jim Hennigan from the City Street Department. He brought his crew in, and within 2 days of full work by his crew, or more maybe, crew of 3 or 4 guys and a backhoe and a loader, they came in and cut everything down, cleaned it up, hauled it off, took care of it for us. I offered for the RDC to pay him. I have not seen a bill from the city yet. I don't know whether we'll get one. But anyway, Joe and I don't believe it's fair either to rub the nose of the individual guy that we hired from the city as a resident that really didn't pay attention to what he was doing and bidding on. So we're asking for approval from this commission to go ahead and pay him. We will be coming to you with his claim in next month's meeting for $300 because he didn't turn his invoice in today. It's going to be our suggestion that we pay him, but that's all done. I've since given Joe a list of the 5 or 6 properties the RDC should be maintaining. Joe is going out for professional quotes on that. That may be your first opportunity, Joe, to do some type of MBWB promotion. But anyway, we're going to get a maintenance program in place and bring that to you for maintaining all these properties in the future so we don't get into this position again. That's really my report. It's been cleaned up and looks good. The second item, 4711 German Church Road structure demolition. You all authorized that. Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat. That demolition last month. In your packet, you'll notice that we found the structure to have asbestos siding. That has to be, mitigated as required by law. The quote that I need you to approve for that is in your packet, and Joe, I'm trying to dig back to it. Is it $7,250, $6,250?
It's $6,700. Yep.
Was it even amount 6,700?
6,700. Yeah, it's breakdown on that is $5,750 for a group called Airco, who's actually going to be doing the remediation, and then we're just going to have Casey Bertram do the coordination overhead on that, and that's an additional $950, bringing the total to $6,700.
Yes, I see the quote now from Casey Bertram. They are on hold till we approve this. I'm requesting that the RDC approve $6,700 change order to Casey Bertram to handle the asbestos legally and finish removal of those structures.
Can I have a motion to approve?
Whoever. Only because I'm the only one here.
Motion from Jerry.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Do a roll call vote. David Blunt.
Approve.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Moving on, 9462 East 52nd Street. Most of you know that that's a parcel we inherited through a tax sale from Marion County. Ashley and I looked it up today. It came to us in 2014. I actually noticed today it had a bunch of old vehicles and stuff on it that I'm sure that whoever buys it will see to get those removed. Ashley, I assume that you're still here. I have the sealed envelope in front of me with containing what we believe to be an offer as a result of our advertising. May I open that, Ashley?
Yes, open it and please announce who it's from and the amount.
I have a signed offer to purchase dated August 12th, 2020, for 9462 East 52nd Street. I will read that offer. Winthrop Property Llc is an adjacent property owner to 9462 East 52nd Street, also known as Parcel 4005251, and offers to purchase the vacant land known as 9462 East 52nd Street from the City of Lawrence Redevelopment Commission for the total sum of $2,750. The purchase will be paid for in cash or equivalent wire transfer. This offer shall remain valid for a period of 90 days. The purchase will be paid for and closed within 10 days of the seller being able to convey free and clear title of land to the purchaser, Winthrop Property Llc. The purchaser will select and pay for a closing agent, title search, title insurance, and all associated closing and recording fees related to this transaction. Property taxes on the parcel being purchased, if outstanding, shall be settled on a pro rata basis, established the day of the closing. There are no other contingencies attached to this offer. Possession will be on the day of closing. Winthrop Property Llc is a single-member limited liability corporation located at 2423 Pendleton Pike, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46236. The business entity of Winthrop Property Llc is an Indiana domestic LLC in good standing and is not precluded from the purchase under IC 36-1-11-16. The single manager and member of Winthrop Property Llc is James H. Crinklaw, who is an Indiana resident and is not precluded from purchase under IC 36-1-11-16. Please direct inquiries related to this offer to James Crinklaw at 317-717-7100. Signed, James H. Crinklaw, member, 8/12/2020. It's my understanding that the city council needs to approve the sale of these properties because it passed through them to begin with. Ashley's asked me to attend the city council meeting coming up in early September and present them with a list of the properties that I assume and anticipate a complete list of properties that the city RDC will be asking to sell and transfer. Ashley, what else would you like to add relative to this matter?
I think as far as any action today, the appropriate action would just be a motion and a second to take this bid under consideration.
May we have a motion, Mr. President, to take this offer under advisement and consideration?
Is there a deadline to respond by?
90 days for closing, so we're in good shape. I don't think there's anything wrong, Ashley, with me acknowledging to Mr. Crinklaw that we received his offer and that they were the only offer. That's a question.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And I will advise him that we have to go to the council on September the 8th, I think you said it was, for approval.
Yes.
Dan, can you remind me what the appraisal for this property was?
I believe the appraisal off the top of my head, I could look it up for you to be exact, I think it was $2,000.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
could you have Mr. Dan repeat the motion that he would like us to approve?
I'm looking for a motion to take the offer of James Crinklaw, or what's the name of the company?
Winthrop.
Winthrop Property, under advisement.
Under advisement, meaning that you're taking it to the council.
Yes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Do a roll call vote. Mr. David Blunt.
Approve.
Jerry Clifford.
Approve.
Melissa Swindell.
Approve.
Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Yes.
Very well.
And Ashley, just to clarify, the council will give us their approval, but then we'll come back for final approval from the RDC. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I'm looking for a as if you cancel your question.
Item 6.
I'm pretty sure it's $2,000, but I'm just double checking. Yeah, it was $2,000.
The appraisal was 2,000.
Yep.
All right. The next item on the agenda is 8016th 46th Street. I will remind you that this is actually two parcels that we offered, known as 8022 and 8026 46th Street. There's a Mr. Khan that owns the parcels in between our two parcels. We actually had those appraised, and I will look up here just so I don't tell you incorrectly. It's been a month. I should be able to tell you off the top of my head, and I think I know, but I want to be sure I'm correct. One of the firms valued the 8022 parcel at $40,000, the 8026 parcel at $20,000. The other firm valued the parcels at $50,000 and $16,000, so they're both just almost $60,000. We have an offer, I believe, to open, if I may, Council.
Yes, please. Open it and just the same, read aloud who it's from and the amount.
So we have a packet from Irfan Khan, Irfan LLC. Bidder's response to the request. Offering purchase price of property for the 8016 property only, it appears to me, the 8026 property of $25,500. And the reason I believe that that's the case is they've only highlighted the $25,000 for 8016, 8026. And it looks like that they're responding to the fact that the minimum for 8016, 8022 was $50,000. So it appears to me, yes, here it is. I would like to offer a bid of $25,500 for the property located at 8016, known as 8026 East 46th Street. I plan to offer a cash bid for the total of $25,500. As evidence of my financial capacity, please see the attached bank statement. If my bid is accepted, I plan to commit to investing the necessary capital to invest in the property and make it commercially viable and to create jobs and tax revenue for the local community. Please see the attached architectural plan and site drawing for a storage building I plan to build. With the above storage building, I intend on creating a distribution and storage facility for Himalayan salt. Then he defines what Himalayan salt is and where it's used. I plan to import Himalayan salt materials from Pakistan, and sort Himalayan salt items at the facility, and finally ship finished items to my clients, vendors, and wholesalers. I anticipate my sales will be a mixture of business-to-business and business-to-consumer sales in the beginning. I currently sell a wide variety of consumer products on Amazon and eBay. However, my vision and goal is to grow and expand in the Himalayan salt sector to create my own products and expand the business-to-business side of sales. My product line will consist of Himalayan table salt, salt blocks for grilling and cooking, skin and spa treatment products, and salt lamps. I don't plan to hire 20 or more employees immediately. Once the startup phase is completed, I hope I could hire 20 or more employees within 6 months to a year. I have worked for myself most of my life. I'm an entrepreneur, self-started. I graduated from the University of Peshawar in Peshawar, Pakistan in 2007, where I studied English and law. I then studied business administration and management leadership at the Modern Institute of Informatics and Management in Islamabad, Pakistan. And he tells about his work history, his import history. He lists a statement showing his assets at PNC Bank.
Dan, was there an
he-
offer for each parcel? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that very well.
No, he only offered for the second parcel,
Okay.
8026.
8020, which is the flat lot with no building.
Thank you.
And he shows a picture of what it is he proposes to develop from an elevation standpoint and how it will be laid on the site. So again, I believe we just take this bid under advisement. It allows us to talk with engineering and zoning relative to his intent and to review the other matters relative to this and to get the council's approval for the sale of the property.
That's correct.
So, Mr. President,
Yep.
so Dan, you're recommending that we move forward with his proposal?
I'm recommending that we take it under advisement so we can consider all the aspects, including whether or not the use is appropriate. I'm not ready to answer that question yet.
Okay, so would we know that before you decided to take it to the council?
Well, what I'm asking the council is totally different, Jerry. I'm asking the council I'm taking them a list of all the properties you own that I believe we may want to sell over time and getting their approval for us to negotiate for their sale.
Fine, that's the thing I wanted to clear up.
And then I'll be coming,
We're not going to be obligated to sell this.
no, relative to each particular project, I'll be coming back to you for final approval once we've vetted it.
Great, thank you.
And Dan, is there a cutoff to where we stop accepting offers on these pieces of land and buildings?
Right now, this has effectively happened based upon the way we advertised. That's effectively happened at this point. We've really only had one response at this point in time. That doesn't mean we couldn't come back and offer again at some future point if we decide to turn this down. But right now, as I understand it, the offer period is over.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I would appreciate it if some.
You
Go ahead.
said the appraisal was 50,000?
There were two different appraisers, Cheryl. One was 50 and 20, and one was 40 and 16. So it does meet the average of the two appraisals. Actually, it's higher than the average of the two appraisals on that particular parcel.
Yeah, we're talking about the 20 and 16 parcel, correct?
Yep. So if I may have a motion, please, to take this under consideration.
Going to have a motion to take what we've discussed, 8026 46th Street, to the council and have them give us approval to move forward.
No, that's really not the
That's
motion.
what we're doing.
So the motion I need is to take the offer for Icon LLC under consideration. The offer to purchase 8026 from Icon LLC under consideration.
And under consideration and evaluation, because you're going to evaluate what they're going to do.
Correct.
So moved.
I have a second.
They may not have heard you, David.
I don't think so.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Is that Ray?
Yep.
Roll call vote. Mr. David Blunt,
Approved.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
Ray Rohana,
Yes, sir, approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Yes.
There we are.
Thank you. I have two matters of other business before the commission. I would like to schedule, we have a number of new things. I know that'll come as a big surprise to you all. I have a number of new things I'm looking at on your behalf. I'd like to have an executive session scheduled for Monday, September the 21st at 4 o'clock. I don't know whether we need a motion for that, Ashley, or not, or whether we can just schedule it.
Yeah, on the schedule.
We don't need a motion, but we'll have to do all the legal notices in regards to once that date and time is confirmed.
Okay, so consider it on the calendar, please, Monday, the 21st at 4 p.m. And then for Commissioner Sullivan and her interest in NDOT and Pendleton Pike, the various things of its appearance, I wanted you to know that I've taken 2 actions on behalf of the city and the commission as of yesterday. I reached out to NDOT, made contact by phone with their representative. I've asked them to send a cleaning crew and get us the schedule moved up to clean the intersection of 465 and Pendleton Pike, get rid of all the trash and the junk laying around there. And then I've also asked for them to make a presentation, probably via Zoom, to this commission and anybody else in the city that might be interested on the improvements that they plan to make to Pendleton Pike that are being scheduled right now for sometime in the next couple of years. And at that particular time, I thought it would give you license, Cheryl and others, to ask any further questions you wanted relative to utilities or light poles or any of the other things that you wanted to discuss. They were very receptive to that and suggested they would be back to me shortly, but they're still under a COVID mandate. They're not even back in the office. So I'm assuming that that will happen by Zoom, but this person was very responsive, said that they need to collect the data themselves as exactly what's proposed from the engineers and prepare for this a little bit, but they would get back to us.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great, Dan. Thanks for doing that.
So with that, I have nothing further, Mr. President, for this meeting today.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I have but one item. Jason, every month we have, well, I should say that, most months we have entries for the Brownfield grants. Do you know what the status, this goes back months ago. We were given the information that we were fast approaching the end of the Brownfield grants that we currently have secured, and that we would be looking for additional grants for future needs.
May I address that?
You may.
If you'll give me just a moment, how about if I give you the exact answer?
Perfect. This was not planned.
That's why I come prepared, Mr. Clifton. I just updated this yesterday. Well, now that I say that, I have that exactly, but I will tell you that we have a balance of approximately $180,000. I may be off of that now with what we're spending a little bit. We still have north of $150,000, Jerry. I'm absolutely convinced. They are spending some of that, though, relative. We're spending, we had 205. The reason I'm hedging is we had 205,000 before we started on the 8102, 8150 property. I think it was 25,000 for the phase 2, 5,000 or so for the phase 1. So we're probably in the $160,000, $65,000 range right now of funding left. And I'll find this now that I'm under the gun. It's buried in these thousands of files I have here going on Lawrence at once, but I can find that. But
if we could have it just for the next meeting, that would be great. And then the other thing that's, I guess, a concern is that I don't know how long it takes to secure a Brownfield grant, but some grants require a lot of lead time to get your arms around. And
yes, and there's a number of matters relative to this particular grant that that I'm not prepared to discuss yet, that I'll be bringing to you.
Okay, great. And so, and that would include grants that we would need to secure?
Yes.
Future needs?
Yep.
Fantastic, thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the council? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Was that a motion?
No, I don't think so. There you go.
Second?
I second the motion.
You were quick with that, Cheryl.
Good job.
Roll call to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Blunt?
Approved.
Jerry Clifford?
Approved?
Melissa Swindell?
Approved.
Ray Rohana?
Yes, sir, approved.
And Cheryl Sullivan.
Thanks, Jason.
There we go.
All right.
Moved a week from Thursday.
Meeting adjourned.